Okay, hello everyone. What is up? What is good? It's me, Colin, and I'm starting a new podcast series called PodCAS. And the point of it is because I have to do CAS hours, and the only way, or not, I scratch that, not the only way, but one of the ways that I can get some hours is through creativity stuff. And for creativity, one of them is making a podcast. And I called it PodCast because of the fact that I'm making a podcast and it is for CAS hours. And CAS, it stands for um, creative, creativity, activity, and service. And so basically, for the next 2 years IB, I have to do 50 hours for each part of it. So this is gonna go towards some my service. I mean, not my scratch that. I'm sorry. I mean my creativity because I think it's pretty creative that I'm making a podcast and stuff like that. So yeah, and what I put down that one of the things I've been doing is thinking about actions and decision making. And I'm gonna do 3 topics that talks about that. So the podcast is gonna be about half an hour, I'd say, more or less. Um, and I'm gonna have an hour completed, because it takes me a half hour to record this. The time I spent researching and thinking about it and editing, of course. And I'm gonna upload this to YouTube, under my channel like normal, and then that'll be my evidence, so on and so forth. Yeah, and I just want to explain a little bit. Using Audacity, shout out to Audacity, great free program that helps record your voice, and it's perfect for podcasts and videos and stuff. And I'm in my closet because I think it has the best acoustics. Like, yeah, yeah. So I'm in my closet and I'm recording. So the first topic of the day is politics. Mainly the election for president 2016, with Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. And a lot of stuff's been going on with that. A lot. When I say a lot, I mean a lot. There's this one restaurant I go to called Eric's Deli in Oak Park. And whenever we go in, always something about the election is on. They're always on CNN. It's always something about the election. And mostly trashing Donald Trump. Um, yeah, and I'm gonna try not to be opinionated, even though I will share my opinion and why I believe that. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna try to be objective. So we have Hillary Clinton for the Democrats, Donald Trump for the Republicans, and they're going head to head. I'm actually kind of surprised that Clinton beat out Sanders for the Democratic nominee because of the simple fact that every younger person loves Bernie Sanders. Like, that's where his main support comes from. Like, the younger people, like the 18-year-olds who are freshly able to vote, and they're like 25, 20, in their 20s, And I was surprised when she beat him because I thought he would win that. But one of the things I think, one of the reasons I think that she ended up beating him out was because of all the feminists. You can't see me, but I'm doing air quotes, like feminist people or groups. And the reason I do air quotes is because I don't just mean like feminists, but I mean like anyone pushing for a female president. Obviously, she'd be the first president to be female, and it would be a big thing. It would make history, this and that, yeah. But um, I was still surprised. I mean, she probably got all those votes, and Bernie probably suffered because he was so favorable with the younger group. But the younger group is one of the groups that's most likely not to vote. I don't mean like they just don't vote, but I mean like one of the groups who's like, oh yeah, like they'll take polls and stuff and be like, yeah, this is who I vote for, but then when it comes to voting day, they just won't go out and they won't vote, right? So I think he could have suffered from that, but as we've seen, he's ready to jump in anytime he's needed, like in case Hillary becomes too sick to finish her campaign and become president. And that's because she's been having health issues. And we don't necessarily know how serious they are or how unserious they are. I'm trying to think of an adjective opposite of serious. But yeah, how non-serious they are. But recently she fainted at the 9/11 memorial, and that got great big attention, you know. And I think that we don't necessarily know what's going on because like everyone's pushing like share your medical records. She hasn't done so yet, so we don't know what's going on, but she only fainted because she had like pneumonia or something. So I don't think it's too big of a thing to be worried about at this point, because she's been fine up until this point, and the only thing that has happened is this so far. Like people have been questioning it and stuff. But yeah, she's been fine, and she just fainted, and that's a big thing. So we'll see where this leads if it does end up leading anywhere. But like I said, we don't know if it will or if it won't. Yeah. And so for the Republicans, we have Donald Trump, and I'm surprised that he's where he is, like the one like top the Republican nominee, because like when you talk about Donald Trump, like when you go somewhere, all you see is like hatred for Donald Trump, like the Hispanics, they hate Donald Trump. Women seem to like hate Donald Trump. Most of the people who like Donald Trump are obviously white males, and obviously he cannot win with just the white male vote. But I mean, not all white males like him. Some don't. And a lot of people don't like him because of the way that he does things. Like, whenever he talks somewhere or does something, he always has insults, something insulting to say, and it's like, is that necessary? No, not really. Like, yesterday when I went to Eric's Deli, as I was talking about, they had something about the election and Donald Trump, and it was, he said something along the lines of, have Clinton's bodyguards disarm and let's see what happens to her. And I'm guessing that he was going along with the notion that that someone would harm her or do something to put her in harm's way. And I don't understand really why he said that, because based off what I've seen, I don't think anyone has been really saying like they want to harm her or do any violence to her. Or maybe it was because of the fact that she fainted and had to have assistance to her car at the 9/11 memorial service, which is kind of saying like she's not healthy enough to be okay on her own, that she needs others to help her do that. But yeah, I don't know. And going along with what I'm thinking about in this edition of the podcast, it is decision making and why certain individuals make certain decisions. And I'm trying to wrap my head around why he decides to make these decisions to use insults and sometimes vulgar language when campaigning and doing stuff. And I'm trying to think why. Does it make him more popular, or is it for the media purposes? Because I think a big thing is whenever he does something like that, it's in the media, right? And so we practically have 24/7 media coverage of him and what he's saying and stuff. So is it that it brings more attention to him and that it gives him a greater, chance of, getting popular because of this? And possibly that he's just trying to get more popular by doing it, and because he gets televised, like someone who's like not aware can like see the stuff and what he's doing. But if that is the case, then it could totally backfire on him. Because if you think about it, like if someone's just sitting in their house, like say I'm like 30-year-old man, work from home. One day I'm just sitting down watching TV. I watch TV at like 4 o'clock every day, and that's when some of the coverage is on. And all you hear is him saying these vulgar things about people who he's running against and stuff. Like, you wouldn't be like, oh, I will vote for him. He sounds like a stand-up guy. When you see him from that perspective, no, he does not seem like a stand-up guy at all, you know? And I'm not going to say whether he is or he isn't, because I don't personally know him. I don't know everything that he's doing and everything that he does, you know? So I'm not in really a position to say whether he is or isn't, but what we see on the media, it's definitely not portraying him as this stand-up guy, you know? But yeah, I'm not going to share my opinions, just trying to be objective, you know? Because I don't want to get backlash or hate or whatever might happen because of my opinions, you know? So, yeah, that was kind of a little bit about the election and the candidates and trying to decipher and think about Trump's decision-making behind those vulgar words and actions. So, yeah. And now we're going to move to our second topic of the day, which is SJWs. And if you're not familiar with the word, it stands for Social Justice Warriors. And there have been a lot of SJWs, Social Justice Warriors, in the news lately for various reasons. Yeah, mostly showing them in a negative light. I'm not a fan of SJWs, and not like anyone who fights for social justice. No, but like the stereotypical SJW, which is someone who makes a big deal out of nothing and uses very weird ways to try to attack the scenarios and what's happening. I don't like that the way that some of them do what they do. For example. Like one of the biggest ones you think of is the lady with the red hair, and who says the F word a lot. And I just disagree with what she does, but that's more general. I'm gonna go kind of specific. Something that I've previously talked about on my YouTube channel. I made a video about this, discussing it. It is about humongous. And if you are not familiar with humongous, this is what happened. Okay. So there was a Black Lives Matter convention type thing, scenario, or not scenario, but convention kind of thing, meeting group. And there was media, and they were talking about, they're taking like opinions on it. And they took this white male name. We don't know his name, but he calls himself Humongous. I'll get more onto that later. But yeah, they're talking to him, and he has an African American daughter. And it was basically they were asking him what his views are on the whole cops versus Black Lives Matter, stuff like that, you know. And he was pro cops. He was for the cops. And I'm not going to say which side I'm on. Just try to stay objective. And yeah, he was saying that he was for the cops. And some lady was recording him, right? And after he gets done with his interview with the television station, it was like a news group, he sees her recording him, and he goes up to her and he says, "Oh, do you want my name? Would you like my name?" And she's like, yes, would you give me your name? And he's like, Humongous. And she's like, what? He's like, Humongous. And then he proceeds to say how, like, his name is Humongous. And something just snaps in this lady. like she was relatively calm up until this point, but after he said humongous, she flipped out. She went crazy. She went absolutely crazy. And she gets very upset, and she goes on ultimately to say that he was sexually harassing her by saying his name was humongous. And I'm kind of confused on that because I don't understand. I can't see, me personally, the connection between him saying his name is humongous and um, her saying that that was sexual assault. You know, I can't see that at all. And I give a lot of credit to this guy because he stayed so calm. He didn't make any rash decisions or make any foul comments towards her. He was just like, oh, he's like, what? You asked for my name. I told you. What am I doing wrong? She made a big deal. She is screaming at the top of her lungs, yelling that he sexually harassed her. And as the video goes on later, um, she's with a group of people after like he's about to leave, and it's like she says, out of all the people here, they chose the one person who's pro cops to interview. So in my mind, this is going along with decision making, why certain individuals make their decisions. I think that she said that and went up to this guy and started a big deal with him simply because of the fact that he was the pro cops, pro police. Sorry. And I think that's why she did it. Because, like, there's no other reason that you'd make such a big deal. Like, I don't even think he was saying it as a joke. He's just like, whatever. Like, I'm not going to give you my name. Like, kind of like, you're videotaping me. I don't want you to also know my name. And she gets so mad and she screams. And then they have security come out, for a private security group to help. And she makes a comment saying, yeah, they don't even have the police here. And I'm thinking, well, yeah, that kind of makes sense to me, because if you're at a Black Lives Matter, like pro Black Lives Matter, anti-cop like movement meeting at a building, right? They're not in public or whatever. Why would you have the cops there? Because I feel like that would just the cops being there would be a form of antagonizement, and I don't know, it'd be an antagonizer. Like, just being there, doing their job, they would just make the Black Lives Matter protesters, angry. So, I mean, that makes sense to me. And then she goes on to demand the full name of the security guards for the private security group. And I'm just confused. Like, I don't know what extent she's going to for this. Like, why is she doing this? That's one of the reasons why I don't like the stereotypical SJWs, is because they make a big deal out of pretty much nothing. He says humongous, and it's like a 10-minute video of her just screaming and yelling. And it's crazy. It's literally insane, you know? Yeah, so I'm going to end with that example and go to another one. There was this Uber driver, and he's driving this SJW. I don't personally know the connection with her and SJW, but just like what I've seen and heard about her, she's considered an SJW. And he had one of those hula girls in the scoots with like her hula skirts with like the lei on her head and like doing the hula. One of those sun things that you put on your car on the dashboard. And she flips out about it, and she gets really mad at him and says, like, she gets mad and says, you are appropriating the massacre of the continent of Hawaii. And I'm really confused by that, to be honest with you, because Hawaii, 1, is not a continent. 2, I'm not familiar with the massacre of Hawaii. And third of all, and most importantly, I don't see what connection that him having a hula girl on his dashboard has to do with anything. You know? Like, he just has like a decoration. And he's your Uber driver. Like, why are you trying to start something with your Uber driver? Like, he's driving you. Like, this is his job. Like, if you work at a desk and say you have a picture of your children, you don't want someone going up to you and we're going to be like, whoa, why do you have this picture of your children here? Don't you know blah, blah, blah about children? The Children Crusade? Like, it's like there's no connection and there's no reason that you need to be starting stuff. And I just don't understand why that's happening. Like, he's not doing anything wrong. He's just trying to drive you to where you need to go, where you need to get. He's not doing anything wrong. And note this. The whole time she's doing it, she's recording herself. And, like, she's, like, proud of herself that she's doing this. And she, like, wanted it to go popular, right? She's like, I want this to blow up. Big deal, you know? Everyone needs to know about the stupid appropriation of the massacre of the continent of Hawaii. Like, I don't understand why you're recording yourself. You don't need to record yourself at all. Especially because of the fact that what you're saying doesn't make sense and you're wrong about some of the things. You don't want it going viral and people being like, what? This doesn't make sense. What is she saying? And it went viral. And it was viral against her. Like, people were showing backlash towards her. Or I should say the girl in the car, the girl who made the video, Annalise, she got a lot of backlash for it. And she even got the Uber driver fired, which is the biggest thing to me. Like, he didn't do anything wrong. Like, he's just sitting there taking this harassment, this verbal abuse, and he's getting fired? Like, no. Like, I don't think that's right at all, you know? But it turns out the firing was temporary as he got his job back a day or two after all the evidence was released, like the whole video. Yeah, but I just don't understand, you know? And so now I'm going to be moving on to our last topic of the day. And this is probably the biggest connection I have to this podcast and to talking about decision making. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the show Big Brother, CBS Big Brother. It's a very popular summertime show, and it has been on for 18 seasons. So, pretty long, and it's like they only do it during the summer, so pretty much 18 years it's been on. And so the point of the game is to make it all the way to the end and win $500,000. And what you do is you live in a house with 16 people, 16 in total, you plus 15 other people. And you do challenges, the HOH. You were the head of household. If you're the head of household, that means you get to nominate 2 people up for eviction. And eviction means that the rest of the house guests, they vote for who they want to be evicted from the game and leave that week. And but you can save yourself from being on the block, as they call it, one of the nominees. There's the power of veto, the POV. And if you win the challenge, you get to veto one of the head of household's nominees. So you get to, if you win, you could be like, oh yeah, I don't want to go home. I'm saving myself, you know? So the game is played for a couple months. Like, it's a really long time. And they have no connection to the outside world at all. So when you're in there, you just basically evict someone every week. Sometimes there's a double eviction, and they do a whole week worth of the show in one night, which is crazy. And the point of the game, or, well, what I think you should do, is you want to take one of the weakest people to the end, you know? Because if you bring someone to the end who's weak, your chances of beating them are extremely high, you know? So, for example, I'm going to be using this season as an example. There have been alliances left and right, you know? And a lot of strong people have been maintained in the game. So, Final 6, there was 2 showmances, which is pretty much a romance in the show, of James and Natalie, Nicole and Corey, Those are the two showmances. And then a duo of Victor and Paul. They're just really good friends. And Victor had gotten evicted twice, and he made it back into the game because he won a competition, but this is beside the point. And so Nicole and Corey had an alliance with James and Natalie, right? All of a sudden, they decide to break off against them and go with Paul and Victor, which I'm very confused with because of the fact that Paul and Victor, they were playing the two best games, and they had the best chances of winning. So if they have the best chances of winning, wouldn't you try to evict them so it would increase your odds of winning the game and winning the $500,000 prize, right? So I'm kind of confused on why they did that, right? Needless to say, James and Natalie went on the block, and Natalie got evicted that week. And I was kind of sad, they were my favorite. Okay, so then all of a sudden, after that, 5 people left, right? The showmance, the duo, and James. And then all of a sudden, they're like, Nicole and Corey are like, hey, James, yeah, we're good, right? Let's just come back with us, and we'll get out Paul and Victor, right? So then they put up Paul and Victor on the block, and Victor goes home, which that makes sense to me, okay. They have a good chance of winning, put them up together. One of them goes home, a target goes home. And then the next week, Final Four. Final Four is crazy. And Paul wins HOH and puts up Nicole and Corey on the block, which makes sense because they're a showmance. And if they're in Final 3, they'll take each other to Final 2, So that makes sense. But then we're in Final 4. We still are. And they're on the block together, right? And then they don't win. They both lose veto. So they stay on the block till eviction night. And for some reason, James votes out Corey over Nicole. So here's some of the background of it. Corey and Nicole were in a showmance. Corey does whatever Nicole tells him to. Whatever. He practically doesn't have a mind. He doesn't do anything for himself. He does everything that she wants him to do. And she's played a good game. She's been considered, quote unquote, a snake by so many of the house guests. Jose said it. Tiffany said it. Frank said it. Meech said it. Davon said it. 5 house guests said it. That's a third of the house who's saying that she's a snake. And, yeah. And that's, so wouldn't you want to get out the one person that is the biggest threat? So you'd want to get out Nicole, right? But no, for some reason, James votes out Corey. He votes to evict Corey instead of Nicole. So in the final 3 are Paul, who's played the best game of the season, undeniably. And then Nicole, who's right there behind Paul. For some reason, she's been able to snake her way through everyone and make it to final 3. And James, he hasn't done really much of anything. He's been with Natalie, and that's gotten them through a long time. Just being like a showman. You'd think it would make them a target earlier on than final 6, but no, they were in good alliances, which maintained them into a good standing. And I'm just really confused. This decision making that I want to talk about is James voting out Corey over Nicole. Especially when Corey said that James was his boy. Him and James are really close. And one of the reasons I think that he voted out Corey over Nicole was because James and Nicole, they had previously been on another season. So it's their second time doing it, and they've been together. The people who returned, they've kind of made an alliance. We need to stick together. That kind of blew off. The other 2 returning house guests, they're out. They've been out for a while. They didn't stay close to James and Nicole like they should have, which would have brought them farther. But yeah, I think maybe that's why James voted to keep her. But if you're thinking about it strategically, you would want to vote out Nicole and keep Corey. Because if you're James and you go to final 2 with Paul or Nicole, you lose because you haven't played as good of a game as they have. And the only way he could have won is if he kept Corey. He goes with Corey. They could be like, oh, Corey, you just did everything Nicole told you to do. So I don't think that you should win. So we're going to give it to James because he's pretty much done stuff, Uh, but he didn't do that. And if he goes with Nicole, there's only one way he gets to win. He goes with Nicole. Everyone's like, Nicole's a snake. We don't like her. We don't vote for her. Even though that they're pretty fair and they're like, you've played the best game. We'll vote for you, Nicole. And yeah, so I'm just so confused because James, he's been my favorite. I loved him last season. I love him this season. But some of the decisions that he's made are just not good decisions. You know? Like I just don't understand. Paul, if he wins the final H2H, he wins the game, right? He loses, he's going home, and then James at least gets second place, The only way for him to get any money is to come in second. And I don't know if he did it because of the fact that now he's guaranteed second, no matter what. Because Paul, he's not going to take Nicole because he knows that Nicole would have a shot of beating him, even though she won't. Or that Nicole would definitely take James, because her and Corey said, whatever of us make it to the final 3, or whoever of us is still in, we need to take James to final 2 to guarantee the win. So they know that they can beat James, and they know that no one's going to be able to beat Paul. So I'm just still confused on why he voted out Corey instead of Nicole. Like, I've been pondering it and thinking about it for a couple days now, and I can't figure out his decision-making behind it. Like, I don't understand where you see fit for that to have taken place. I was really upset because I love James. I want him to win the $500,000. See, that's like life-changing amount. You can put in the bank, it can grow, stuff like that. And I wanted it for him, but I just don't understand, So that's why I was trying to understand his decision making and his decision in keeping Nicole instead of Corey. But I mean, he's pretty much guaranteed $50,000, which is still a good amount of money. Yeah. But we do have a bigger thing. America's favorite player. And me and my boys, we've been voting for Glenn, 20 votes a day. And we've even made a group about it. And yeah, it's a big thing. So we're trying to get him to win. So yeah. And with that, I've talked about all the topics I wanted to get to. Gotten to the 30-minute point. And I think I'm going to end the podcast here. And thank you for tuning in to episode 1 of PodCAS.